So good afternoon, everybody. This is what I call the most difficult session because it's immediately after lunch and everyone's first impetus is to have a siesta. So let's see whether the presentations and the discussions we are going to have this afternoon will help you stay awake and focused. So because this is the first time that we are having all the pillars mixed up together in this room, I'm starting the presentation with just giving you some background as to what the AEC, the economic pillar, is all about. Because normally that's where the businesses go to first, is the economic pillar, because as you know, all businesses want to make and maximize profits. So just to give you all some quick background, the ASEAN Economic Community, which we in short call the AEC, is one of the three pillars of the ASEAN community, i.e. the community is made up of political, security, social, cultural, and economic pillars. In 2017, it marked a significant milestone for the AEC, being ASEAN's 50th anniversary. The AEC has achieved significant milestones since the birth of ASEAN in 1967. Notably, ASEAN developed an AEC 2015 blueprint, which served as the comprehensive master plan with specific AEC commitments for ASEAN to implement by 2015. ASEAN formally established that the AEC was done on 31st December 2015. The AEC 2015 blueprint is thus the realization of regional economic integration among the 10 ASEAN member states. It aims to establish a competitive market with a free flow of goods, services, investment, skilled labor, and a freer flow of capital in the region. Recognizing that economic integration is a continuous process, AEC work has not stopped in 2015. ASEAN leaders have adopted an AEC 2025 blueprint to guide ASEAN in furthering its economic integration from 2016 to 2025, and I've seen that all of us can get a copy of it because it was outside of the registration table. So for those of y'all who haven't picked up, I would encourage y'all to take a copy. The key characteristics of these blueprints, which are iterated and mutually reinforcing, are shown on the slide. Basically, in short, it's just talking about expanding the economic space within the ASEAN region so that we can freely do business within the 10 member states as though you're doing business at home. That's the grandiose idea. So businesses, of course, will be able to move freely, do their businesses freely, and therefore, by maximizing their profits, they will realize and give shape to some of the many issues that we discussed in the earlier session relating to human rights, labor rights, and things like that. So, ASEAN trade and investment continues to achieve strong performance. Despite the moderation in global trade growth, total trade for ASEAN grew by US $700 billion between 2007 and 2015. Intra-ASEAN trade comprised the largest share of ASEAN's total trade by partner in the same year. ASEAN attracted $121 billion of foreign direct investment in 2015. The highest source of ASEAN's foreign direct investment is also intra-ASEAN. ASEAN has also consistently outperformed global growth with an average growth rate of 5.2% between 2007 and 2015. Today, ASEAN is the 6th largest economy in the world. The theme of this afternoon session is business resilience. Resilience is not something new to ASEAN, nor is it new to its business. It has been an important element in sustaining ASEAN's strong economic growth and prosperity. For instance, ASEAN showed remarkable resilience in the face of the Asian financial crisis of 1998 to 1999. ASEAN member states resolved to tide the crisis, developed sound macroeconomic policies, and rebounded strongly. ASEAN's continued resilience remains more important than ever today in the face of global economic uncertainties and rising anti-trade and anti-globalization sentiments. ASEAN centrality also remains key, as ASEAN must stay undivided amidst global challenges. Resilience is one of the central themes of Singapore's chairmanship of ASEAN in this year. Inclusive growth thus remains vital for ASEAN to remain cohesive and integrated. Inclusive growth is important as it broadens access to economic opportunities to ensure that all stakeholders can participate and benefit from growth, and as a key enabler for ASEAN to attain full potential of regional economic integration. This morning's session highlighted a few of the challenges that we face in attaining inclusive growth. From the business perspective, inclusive growth means including not just big corporate players, but also micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, which constitute the majority of businesses in ASEAN member states. In short, the wonderful economic pie that I just read out has to be shared fully amongst all ASEAN business for it to be realized as our ASEAN vision. So, aware that how important resilience is, especially in this day and age, it is no surprise that business resilience is also part of the 2025 blueprint. The fourth pillar of the AAC Blueprint 2025 pertains to a resilient, inclusive, people-oriented and people-centered ASEAN. The ASEAN Coordinating Committee on Micro and Small Medium Enterprises, MSMEs, has laid out a strategic action plan charting out work to help develop MSMEs in the region for the next 10 years. This is halved into two 5-year tranches. The first 5-year tranche will focus on helping MSMEs integrate within the ASEAN by participating in regional value chains. While the second 5-year tranche will be to grow the ASEAN MSME landscape into one that is globally competitive, innovative, inclusive, and resilient. There are 5 actions that have been identified as crucial in helping our MSMEs to achieve these goals. These are promoting productivity, technology, and innovation in the region. This includes investment in R&D and also supporting the environment for startups that tend to create new and innovative market solutions. Increasing our MSMEs' access to finance, encouraging our banks to lend more to small companies, or by supporting new and innovative ways of funding startups, such as through microfinancing or crowdfunding. Enhancing their access to ASEAN markets, thereby boosting their success at internationalizing. A lot of our market access and trade facilitation efforts have been in direct response to feedback from MNEs, but less so from MSMEs, since internationalization can be intimidating for a small company. We now almost always remind ourselves how we need to ensure that our market access initiatives can be utilized by small companies as well, who often lack human resources to navigate the complexities of the AEC or any one of the many ASEAN free trade agreements. This can be done by providing training support to small companies. Singapore agencies are already doing this through Spring and IE Singapore, and we are now starting a training program with SBF as well. Outreach and training and explaining the many provisions is thus very crucial to getting resilience amongst our small companies. More importantly here, we are aiming to directly tweak ASEAN initiatives such that they become accessible to all companies, whether big or small. But to do this, we need feedback from the small companies as well. So the training and outreach serves dual purposes, educating and getting feedback as to how the current provisions may not be intuitive to small companies' utilization, and how therefore we might want to tweak some of this to make it readily used by these smaller companies. Enhancing the policy and regulatory environment is another way of making it easier for MSMEs to internationalize. A company trying to operate in the region has to deal with potentially 10 different regimes. What this work stream aims to do is to smoothen out the unevenness of the regulatory environment such that there is a greater degree of consistency and smaller degree of confusion. Minimizing the amount of retesting that companies have to subject their products to can thus help to make it less daunting to market their goods in the region. Promoting entrepreneurship and human capital development is a softer aspect to the overall strategy and aims at creating a more favorable startup culture in the region. These are some of the flagship achievements of ASEAN's work to date to strengthen the role of MSMEs in the region. The ASEAN SME Policy Index is a tool for governments to monitor and track the MSME-related policies. This helps governments identify where areas are lacking and can be improved, especially against international best practices and benchmarks. The ASEAN SME Services web portal is a central repository of helpful information for MSMEs and lends greater transparency to policies affecting small companies so that MSMEs can enter new markets with their eyes open. The ASEAN SME Online Academy is an early learning platform where companies can pick up skills on a wide variety of business aspects, some of which are very basic. For example, customer relationship management, computer security and privacy, inventory management, basics of finance. Some are newer aspects of doing business, such as cross-border e-commerce, social entrepreneurship, online marketing. These type of courses continually expand. There is also a directory of outstanding SMEs in ASEAN. This serves as a networking tool. MSMEs that are internationalizing and looking for partners can contact these outstanding SMEs. One final aspect that we have touched on a bit earlier is the incorporation of the MSMEs angle into ASEAN initiatives. For example, which is what Ms. Mahmood also referred to this morning, is the ASEAN-wide self-certification scheme which ASEAN is looking to realize. Companies that will benefit most from self-certification are in fact the small ones. We are also looking towards narrowing the development gap. ASEAN, as you know, is a diverse regional grouping in the sense that our economies, infrastructure and education levels are all at different stages of development. Under this context, ASEAN launched the Initiative for ASEAN Integration, IAI, in 2000, aimed at promoting effective cooperation and mutual assistance to narrow the development gap within ASEAN and also between ASEAN and the rest of the world. To date, Singapore has pledged about $170 million to the IAI. Part of our assistance is by establishing training centers in Phnom Penh, Vientiane, Hanoi. And the latest is the Vocational Training Institute in Yangon, which was opened by our Prime Minister just last year. We have also welcomed more than 35,000 officials from ASEAN member states to attend courses offered under the Singapore Cooperation Program run by MFA. Capacity building also features heavily in ASEAN. ASEAN's FTAs often have an economic and technical cooperation chapter, whereby ASEAN FTA partners commit resources and training to help ASEAN economies build their capacities for deeper economic integration. Some of ASEAN's dialogue partners also provide significant resources and financial support to ASEAN. For examples are the US, the EU, and Australia. The ASEAN single window, for example, was established with US financial assistance, while the EU has funded the development of the ASSIST system. Strengthening the role of the private sector has been included as an additional feature of AEC 2025 blueprint, beyond what was in the AEC 2015 blueprint. This is in recognition that private sector input and partnership are critical in ensuring that the government's work is not irrelevant. After all, one of the primary objectives of the AEC is to make the region more conducive to business and commerce and therefore driving growth. For us who have spent most of our career in the government, we're not really aware of what really businesses need to make themselves more efficient. Hence, these sort of two-way dialogues are very critical in guiding us as we develop what the AEC should be providing for the businesses. There are thus several private sector bodies in ASEAN, and we will go through some of these more significant ones. The ASEAN Business Advisory Council, APEC, is the apex private sector body in ASEAN. I don't need to say much more since we have two illustrious representatives who will speak after me, and I'll leave it to them to expand on what they are doing. We also have the 10 ASEAN plus 1 business councils. Earlier on, we noted that we have a representative also from the ASEAN India Council, so I'll also leave him to speak a bit more about what goes on in those sort of councils. The membership of these business councils are mostly open to all as long as you're an ASEAN company operating in that other country or a company from that other country operating in ASEAN. The latter somehow being the more common case. Another significant business council is the East Asia Business Council, which consists of nominated representatives from the 10 ASEAN member states and also China, Japan, and Korea. Aside from these business councils, there are also 66 ASEAN-affiliated business entities that are organized around their industry sectors. So in short, there's a lot of avenue for businesses to get to know and understand what ASEAN is all about and how ASEAN can help them expand their business. The AEC Blueprint 2025 accords ASEAN back as the apex private sector body with the responsibility of coordinating the input from the private sector, including all of these business entities and councils. It is much better because a one-stop shop helps us in government to know who to listen to rather than facing an inundation of requests and us having to spend time to filter through what is duplicated and what is not. A central body makes life more efficient, I think, for both sides. In order to handle this, ASEAN BAC underwent a restructuring process. ASEAN BAC appointed private sector champions to lead work on key sectors and issues. These private sector champions are sometimes individuals, companies, or even countries. For instance, for Singapore, ASEAN BAC Singapore has volunteered to spearhead work on e-commerce and the digital economy. ASEAN BAC also started to organize consultations with the other private sector bodies. This is in an effort to collate the feedback and to identify those that are common among the business councils. ASEAN BAC is also engaging the ASEAN Secretariat to find out more about what is ongoing in ASEAN's economic integration, which can help them disseminate up-to-date information more effectively and simply to their members. While ASEAN BAC is now an institutionalizing consultative process. For example, it has secured a seat at the ASEAN Trade Facilitation Joint Consultative Committee to provide regular feedback on NTMs and NTBs. So you can see in short that there's a lot out there for our business to tap on to become more inclusive and resilient. The issue is, are they aware of these multiple prongs of initiatives that have been put in place to help them? Transparency and outreach is thus a very important aspect of helping the businesses to know what are the tools that they can use to become resilient and more effective in the ASEAN region. So from now onwards, we are trying to focus a lot more on outreach. In Singapore itself, we are having a lot of progress with our Apex business entity, the Singapore Business Federation, to start working with a lot of our companies to tell them what is basically in their backyard. Because most people are very familiar, most businesses, families, they go on holiday within the ASEAN region. It is something that it is familiar to them. The only issue now is telling them what are the business rules, what is the rule of law that they need to abide to, and to try and make it as harmonized and efficient as possible so that they may become stronger and more effective as we work towards achieving the first tranche of the 10-year AEC 2025 blueprint. Then as we move into the second 5-year tranche, hopefully more of our businesses are being able to lead and take on issues globally. Thank you very much.